During the first years of Final Fantasy, fans were blessed with a new entry every year, and what surprises me the most is that with each new entry in the franchise, plenty of new mechanics were added and others were polished. If Final Fantasy III introduced the base of the job system, Final Fantasy V picked up the concept and perfected it beyond belief. In order to get 100% on Final Fantasy V, as per usual, you have to complete the main story, finish the bestiary, collect every treasure, find every hidden item, obtain every blue magic, along with the typical miscellaneous tasks. The story starts with the crystal blowing up, and not only does the crystal blow up, a meteorite falls on Earth. Near the meteor crater was Bartz, a traveler, together with Boko, his chocobo. Upon inspecting the crater and fighting two goblins, we find a girl named Lenna who happened to be there investigating the reason why the wind has stopped blowing. Also near the meteorite, we find a man named Galuf who has lost all of his memories. Lenna mentions that she must go to the Wind Shrine, and Galuf, upon hearing that name, remembers that he must go there as well. And we keep to ourselves because that's not our problem. After leaving the meteor on the back of our lovely chocobo, it suddenly breaks, reminding us that we are the protagonist and we need to help those two because there are goblins around. We then proceed to pick up those two who got defeated by said goblins. After taking them to safety, Bartz tells them that you will escort them to the Wind Shrine safely, and with that said, we join the party. In order to reach the Wind Shrine, we need a ship, so we enter a cave that happens to be a pirate's hideout and attempt to steal theirs. However, we are caught by the captain and we learn that Lenna is actually the princess of Tycoon as she requests the captain to use the ship. Sadly, the captain doesn't care and captures us. Eventually, he changes his mind and accepts to take us to the shrine. Eventually, we reach the shrine, and on our way to the top, we get When we reach the top, we find a winged raptor guarding the entrance to the crystal, and after disposing of it, we see the winged crystal shattered. At the same time, the four crystals grant us their blessing, meaning that our new mission is to stop them from being destroyed, turning us into, yet again, the Warriors of Light. King Tycoon emerges and tells us that an evil presence is awakening and we need to protect our world. And with that said, the crystal fragments react to the blessing and grants us power, meaning we get jobs. We are granted the regular jobs we are used to, meaning the Knight, the Monk, Thief, White Mage and Black Mage, but this time we also get the newly added Blue Mage, which will help us learn powerful spells throughout the story. Our next stop is to go through the Torna Canal, and with the Wind Crystal destroyed, the ship will barely move if it wasn't for Sildra, the Hydra, who used to push the ship thanks to growing up with Ferris. Inside the canal, a whirlpool made by a monster named Carlavos begins to pull the ship in until we defeat him, and Sildra pushes us out of the way, sacrificing herself in the process. Without Sildra to push our ship, we wander in the ocean until we reach the sea graveyard. In here, we learn that Ferris isn't a man, but a woman. And while exploring, we get When we try to leave, we get ambushed by a siren who casts a spell on each party member, but since Galuf doesn't remember anyone from his past, this renders the spell useless, allowing us to fight back. After quickly taking her down, we are once again outside. We need to reach the North Mountains where Hiryu, Lenna's wind dragon, currently is, so we can travel to the next crystal. While inside the cave, we get On the top of the mountain, we are ambushed by dragon hunters who are after Hiryu, and after we kill them, we get After rescuing Hiryu, we are now free to travel to the next crystal, but before that, we return to the Kingdom of Tycoon where we learn that Ferris is actually Lenna's sister, which means she's also a princess of Tycoon. Now that we are well rested, we reach the Kingdom of Valve. And by speaking with the king, we learn that a scholar named Sid invented technology to use the powers of the crystal in order to use them to benefit of humanity. However, the king doesn't want to stop using said technology even if it means destroying the crystals. While trying to convince the king, another meteorite crashes, this time near the place where the water crystal is. We enter the Tower of Owls where the crystal is located, and on top of the tower we see a gorilla out of control, and he is about to destroy the crystal before we enter the room. Even with us taking care of him, the crystal still gets destroyed, meaning more jobs. Only 2 crystals remain now, and without the water crystal, the Tower of Owls immediately collapses and Sildra, who we thought he was dead, comes to the rescue. After taking us safely to the shore, sadly she passes away, this time for good. We enter the meteorite that crashed near the tower, and here we get teleported to the other side of the world. We reach the city of Karnak, and after attempting to buy a weapon, we are arrested by the local police because the locals think we work with the monsters because they saw us leave the meteorite. Inside the prison, we meet Sid, who blew up our wall instead of the door. And when the local authorities discover that the fire crystal that is located on the boat is starting to break, they try to get Sid out of jail so he can fix the problem. Sid agrees, but with the condition that we assist him. Inside the ship, we need to go to the engine room, who's absorbing the power of the crystal. As soon as we reach our goal, we meet the Queen of Karnak, who's actually, just like the gorilla before, being controlled by an evil presence. After taking care of her, a controlled soldier reached the control panel, sending more power to the crystal, destroying it in the process. With such explosion, we have less than 10 minutes to leave the area before it turns to dust. We managed to do it successfully, and we are rewarded with crystal shards, granting us 3 more jobs. We return to the fire ship where we learn our 10th blue magic and get our next stop is the Library of Ancients, and while we are exploring, we find Ifrit, and after defeating him, we acquire him as a summon. And as we keep exploring, we get eventually, we reach a room where we find Myth, Sid's grandkid. However, before we reach him, we are attacked by a monster named Byblos. After dealing with him, we manage to convince Myth to leave the library and to go speak with Sid, who is currently in a slump because he was the creator of the devices that were used to destroy the crystals. With those two reunited, they start working on fixing the fire ship so it can travel without the power of the fire crystal. The reunion of Sid and Myth causes Galoof to remember that he is not from this world and that he came here in one of the meteorites because an evil was beginning to reawaken. And this isn't the first time he was in this planet, he did the same thing 30 years ago. After Sid and Myth finally fix the boat, we can sail away freely. While exploring, we get eventually, we reach the island of Crescent, where a whirlpool snatches our recently acquired boat. Without a boat to sail away, we explore the local chocobo forest, where we find a black chocobo that had swallowed 2 of the crystal shards. After making him spit them out, we get 2 more jobs, and we can now fly freely on its back. We return to the Library of Ancients, where Sid tells us that King Tycoon was seen crossing the desert of shifting sands. There's no way to cross this desert without defeating a sandworm, which then turns into a bridge that allows us to travel the area. After doing so, we reach some ruins and we spot King Tycoon. When we approach him, we fall into a pit which drops us inside the ruins. Here, Faris finally admits she's Lenna's sister, and after wandering around, we reach a warp room that takes us directly to the shore near Crescent. We eventually find an airship, allowing us to travel freely once more. However, before we are actually free, a Grey Claw is holding the airship hostage and won't let us leave. After defeating it and cruising around, we see the Ronka ruins emerging from the desert and transforming into a flying fortress. And then we learn that the Earth Crystal is inside the fortress. As the ship is now, we can't reach the ruins, but if we acquire adamantite, Sid and Mid will make sure we are capable of doing so. We don't know where to get any, but Galuf mentions that the meteorite he arrived on has some, so we need to retrieve it. Inside the meteorite, we quickly grab the adamantite, but as we are about to leave, an adamantoid shows up and tries to take it back, but we quickly dispose of the giant turtle. We return to Sid and Mid, we immediately start working on the airship. Now that it's ready, we head for the ruins where we must destroy the weapons that are preventing us from going inside. After doing so, we finally enter the ruins. In here, after fighting a couple of monsters, we get at the top of the ruins, we finally meet King Tycoon, who immediately tells us to fight the monster ahead of us. We do as we are told and finish the monster off. We then enter the crystal room, where we realize that the king is being controlled as he attempts to destroy the crystal. As Bartz and Galuf try to stop him, both his daughters stand in their way until another meteorite crashes on Earth, and this one brought up to Earth Trile, Galuf's granddaughter. After seeing her, he gets his memories back. The king is also no longer being controlled, but the damage to the crystal was already done. With the 4 crystals destroyed, the seal on Exdeath is broken, and he appears before us using the power of the crystals to attack. His next plan is to return to Galuf's world to destroy their crystals. An Exdeath attack against us drains the crystals of their power, and King Tycoon sacrifices himself to restore them. That leads the Ronka ruins to explode, and with that, Galuf and Krill decide to return to their own planet to fight Exdeath off, and this time once and for all. Bartz insists on going with him, but Galuf refuses since there's no guarantee that he will be able to come back. And with Galuf going away, we get But since Galuf is one of the homies, we decide to not respect his wishes and instead find a way to go to his world. We return to the meteorite that started all of this, and after speaking with Sid and Mid, we decide to retrieve adamantite from all of the meteorites so we can power them up, so we can go to Galuf's world. Each meteorite is being guarded by monsters, and after defeating each and every one of them, we manage to power up the 4 meteorites, making a warp point appear, taking us to Galuf's world. As soon as we reach this whole new world, we take a break only for Lenna and Ferris to get kidnapped, leaving us to fight the abductor by ourselves. After defeating him, we open the chest he left behind, but it was strapped with sleeping gas. We get captured and wake up as Exdeath's prisoners, and since Galuf's army was about to attack the castle where Exdeath is, he uses us as hostages, making Galuf enter a solo mission to rescue us. In this mission, he ends up facing Gilgamesh, one of Exdeath's generals, who leaves after a couple of hits because he couldn't be bothered with the fight. With the party finally together again, we leave the castle and reach the big bridge. After crossing it, we are ambushed by Gilgamesh once again, and once more he ends up running away. On the other side of the bridge, Krill tries to warn us about the barrier in the castle, but she was late in doing so, which means we get teleported across the world. As we try to return to Galuf's castle, we enter the Moogle forest and end up falling into the underground waterway, where we rescue a Moogle from being eaten by a dinosaur. After being saved, it telepathically talks with the Moogle that lives with Krill, which prompts her to come and pick us up. After we get back, we learn that Krill's wind dragon is dying, and in order to save him, we will need dragon grass. The same thing you used to cure Hirio back in our world. It is only found in Drakenvale, so that's our next stop. And while exploring Galuf's castle, we get and on the way to Drakenvale, we also get While heading for Drakenvale, we find the city of Quelp, where werewolves, one of Galuf's allies, live. After speaking with Kelger, the leader of the werewolves, we learn that Bart's father was actually one of Galuf's original allies when they sealed Exdeath all those years ago. We leave the town, and right before we reach Drakenvale, we get We finally reach Dragonvale, and as we are about to pick up the dragon grass picks us up instead. After defeating it, we collect the spoils and we return to the castle where Krille is feeling weak and says that Guido is calling us. Before doing anything else, we heal the dragon that takes us immediately to Guido's island, but as soon as we land, the island sinks thanks to an X-Death attack. Unable to speak with Guido, we reach the Surrogate Castle where Zazat, another one of Galuf's allies, is king. However, he isn't there since he's already launching an attack on X-Death's castle. We immediately head to his fleet to join him, but right before we can start anything, we are ambushed by Gilgamesh and his troops. We immediately bail. Finally free to proceed, we start our attack by using Zazat's submarine to sneak into one of the barrier towers so we can disable the barrier. And while Zazats go to the bottom of the tower to cut the power off the barrier, we go to the top to destroy the antenna. On the way to the top, we get When we finally reach the top, as we are about to destroy the antenna, a monster named Atomos is there to protect it. After taking it down, we are finally free to destroy it. When we do so, we learn that Zazat was planning to sacrifice himself from the very beginning, knowing that whoever went to cut the power of the barrier wouldn't be able to leave the place, leaving us with no choice but to leave him behind to save ourselves. After successfully leaving, we keep Zazat's submarine. Having the submarine, we can finally set out to meet Guido, who happens to be a turtle. We learn that X-Death is looking for something within the Great Forest of Moor, that happens to be his birthplace, since that location was used to seal away evil spirits for years. But the concentration of evil turned the tree used to seal away spirits into a dark being, X-Death itself. We reach the Forest of Moor, and inside we open a chest and get As we explore the forest, X-Death sets it on fire, forcing us to hide with the Mughals. When the flames die out, we reach the Guardian Tree, and when we go inside, we are attacked by 4 crystals. Destroying them is exactly what X-Death wanted, because those crystals were the seal that was protecting the world crystals from him. And without the seal, X-Death got all of their power and proceeds to attack us. On the brink of death, Krille attempts to save us, but instead of that, she was turned into a punching bag. Seeing his granddaughter being thrown around like a puppet, Galuf stood up to X-Death, sacrificing himself to protect both Krille and the party. After his fight against X-Death, we get With the help of the Guardian Tree, Galuf is able to pass down his powers to Krille in hoping she will assist us in his place. We finally enter X-Death's castle and make our way to the top, and once again, Gilgamesh is there waiting for us. Even with him actually trying his best this time, X-Death still wasn't happy with him to the point where he banishes him to another dimension. With Gilgamesh out of the way, we finally confront X-Death, and in a little bit of an underwhelming fight, we take him down. After we do so, the crystals begin to shatter, and that takes us back to our world. Without the threat of X-Death, peace reigns once again, and with Faris returning to Tycoon, celebrations are in place. However, Krille feels that Galuf is telling her to go somewhere, and Bartz thinks he has an idea on where to. By skipping the festivities on Tycoon and after reuniting with Woko, we soon fall into a pit, only to be saved by Faris, who also decided to skip the festivities since it doesn't go well with her. We reach Guido's cave, where we learn that both our world and Krille's world were actually the same, meaning that we are not back in our world, we simply restore them back to their original form. Since all of the crystals had been destroyed, the seal in the interdimensional rift that was keeping Void at bay has been broken, and that made the two worlds merge once more. In the middle of this explanation, part of X-Death had attached itself onto Krille, and he manages to return to his normal form, in which he reveals that his plan all along was to take the power of the Void to himself. As he explains his plan, the Void starts consuming the world, starting with the Kingdom of Tycoon, where it is taken to the interdimensional rift. With Xstat throwing us out of Guido's cave so he can keep his plan rolling, we decide to go to the Library of Ancients. Since we are currently too weak to go to the interdimensional rift, Guido tells us about the 4 tablets that keep the 12 legendary weapons sealed. The first tablet is in the desert in the Pyramid of Moor, and after obtaining it, Bahamut emerges and tells us that he is waiting for us at the summit of the North Mountain. While we proceed on our journey, we reach the Guardian Tree where Hiryu drops an unconscious Lenna next to us. However, she is being possessed by a creature named Melusine, who is under Xstat's control. Said creature attempts to take us down until Hiryu sacrifices himself, expelling the demon from Lenna's body, allowing us to take him down quickly. In the rift, Xstat releases the power of the Void, and at the same time, we use our good old airship to keep collecting the tablets to gather the weapons. We reach a place called the Phantom Village, where after exploring for a bit, we find the last piano and get back on a search for the tablets, we reach the island shrine where we finally get the second one, and it also breaks the seal on the Fork Tower where we go immediately. After climbing both towers inside the Fork Tower, we acquire the Black Magic Flare and the White Magic Holy, which causes the tower to disappear. Beneath the tower was the catapult, the place that was serving as our base after we got there when we got warped. Inside, we reunite with Sid and Mid, who quickly upgrade our ship with a submarine DLC, which we immediately take advantage of by going straight to the Wolf Val's tower, which is now the Sunken Tower because it sunk. In here, we can retrieve the last shard that we missed before, but as we are about to get it, it turns himself into a mime who, after just a bit of hanging around, decides to gift us his power, giving us the mime job. With that out of the way, we proceed with our journey to collect the tablets, and we reach the Great Sea Trench. After exploring and getting the tablet, we also get the Magic Meteor, leaving us with only one tablet left. And that tablet is in the Ice Story Falls. Inside, after defeating a couple of monsters, we get at the end of the falls, we acquire the tablet, and as we are about to leave, we face off against the Leviathan, and after taking him down, we get him as a summon. Now that we have all of the tablets, we can unseal all of the weapons, getting us with all the weapons gathered, it's time to do a bit of a cleanup. We travel to the Phoenix Tower, where we learn the last blue magic, and while climbing the tower, we also get and also we reach the top of the tower to find a near-death Hiryu who decides to jump off, but instead of disappearing, he transforms into the Phoenix Summon so he can help us in our journey. All that is left before our final stretch is to go in to find Bahamut, who is waiting for us. After a very hard battle, we finally manage to take him down and get him as the last summon available. With everything done, it's time to go into the rift. As soon as we enter, we reach a desert where excess followers from the Void want to make a new world, the World of Darkness. As we keep exploring, we pass through fragments of space tied to places we visited during our journey, as if the worlds are all connected. Each area has a guardian, and the first one is Kalofishteri, which we quickly take down. We reach a cave where Omega is waiting for us, and after taking it down, we get we eventually reach the castle floating in the sky, and as soon as we get inside, we get After exploring the castle and taking down every single one of the followers, we finally reach the last floor that happens to be the real shape of the rift. As soon as we step inside, we find Gilgamesh once again, but he doesn't want to fight. He just wants to leave. We tell him where the exit is, and we are now officially best friends forever. While exploring the rift, we open one chest that contains the dragon Shiryu, and after defeating him, we get Before we reach the end of the rift, there's someone who is trying to stop us. That someone being the last follower of the Void, Necrophobe. As the fight drags on, Gilgamesh, our new best friend, gives us an inspirational speech and blows himself up, taking both himself and Necrophobe down. With only X-Death left, we finally confront him when he regains his true form of a weird-looking tree. After managing to surpass the weird tree, the Void completely consumes him and he turns himself into Neo X-Death. And to face the final boss, nothing like relying on good old Bahamut to finish the job, once and for all. With X-Death finally defeated, we use the crystal shards to restore their original crystals, which restores the balance of the world and seals the Void once again. And with that, everyone can be happy once more. Final Fantasy V was indeed a beautiful experience. The story isn't anything groundbreaking. It's simple and its biggest strength lies within the main cast. It really feels like they aren't just random characters that met through the journey and that was it. The small interactions they had, from Galuf climbing through some edges to reunite with the party because they were too quick to dismiss him, to Bartz being head over heels overseeing Faris in a dress. Those interactions made the story feel much more closer and personal than the rest of the other Final Fantasies, and it was a nice change of pace. The job system once again surprised me. More complex, more diversity, way more enjoyable. In fact, plenty of the boss fights throughout the game were hard, but with a good combination within the job system, they were easily doable. And I did say that if the last Final Fantasy games that I played had an underwhelming final boss, this one was perfect. Difficult, but very enjoyable. But the challenge in itself was the reminder of the very reason why I love this franchise. And I can't wait to pick up the next one. I didn't make justice to the story, and I didn't make justice on how good this game is. Because from every Final Fantasy that I covered so far, Final Fantasy V is without a doubt my favorite. And this is one of the Final Fantasies that I do recommend to play and experience yourself. If you watch my whole journey, thank you so much, and I hope to see you on the next one.